Are you looking to make the switch from Fortnite Creative 1.0 to UEFN? Are you scared of UEFN being too complicated? Well, don't be, because it's actually a lot easier than it seems and is set up very similar to what you are already used to in Creative 1.0. Eventually, you may want to even build your own game from scratch using Unreal Engine. And this is a great stepping stone to learn how Unreal Engine works for the most part. If there's anything you'd like me to teach in a future video about UEFN, leave a comment below. Now, let's hop right into it. The first thing you're going to do is download the Epic Games Launcher, which you can find on the Epic Games Store website. Once you have that, you will need to download and install both Fortnite and UEFN. Now, when you're in the Epic Games Launcher, once you've downloaded and installed it, you can go over to your library, and now you can see Fortnite and Unreal Editor for Fortnite is now available. So all you have to do is just click on Unreal Editor for Fortnite to launch it, and it will begin to launch. Once you launch UEFN for the first time, you will then see a somewhat familiar screen, as this is where you can find island templates like in Creative 1.0, as well as your recent projects. We are going to start a new project here. A quick tip that nobody told me when I first started that is quite important is that you shouldn't save your projects in your My Documents folder or anything like that if you are using Windows and OneDrive. Because if you use OneDrive, it will not save your projects properly. I have an external hard drive where I put all of my UEFN projects so that this doesn't happen. So we will just make a project name here and then click Create. Okay, now that we are in UEFN for the first time, let's go over the layout. At the top left, we have a few buttons that go across the main bar. First, we have the Save button, very important. Then we have the Content Drawer button. This is where you'll find all of your project files and content. So for example, you will find all of the devices, prefabs, items, props, etc. here. You can also open up the Content Drawer by pressing the button in the bottom left corner. Now you have a drop down here for the different modes. I'm going to go over selection and landscape very briefly today, and foliage, modeling, and animation I'll go over in future videos. We have Project Actions button here where you can change, manage, and even publish your project from here. This is a quick add button where you can quickly add common things to your projects such as shapes, lights, camera controls, and more. Next, we have a Fab button, which is an asset marketplace where you can bring cool assets into your project. This is the new marketplace that Epic Games has released that has replaced the Unreal Marketplace. We have a Verse button here that will open up Verse Explorer. You will need to download Visual Studio Code in order to access this section. This is mostly for programmers who are wanting to create custom scripts for your games. But keep in mind, just because you're using UEFN does not mean you have to use these coding and scripts. And then finally, we have a Launch Session button. This is where you will go when you are ready to test your game out in Fortnite. On the right side of the screen, you will see details and your outliner sections. The outliner shows all your props, devices, island settings, etc. that you have put into your map currently. The details section shows all the details similar to what you see in Creative 1.0. For example, if I click on the Player 1 spawn pad here, you can see all the settings you can change for that device. You will also see the functions and events to make your devices connect to one another. Now, before we explore the content drawer further, we will need to set up the landscape, which is done in landscape mode. So at the top, go to the drop down and select landscape mode. There are a lot of tutorials on this that go into a lot more detail. So for now, I'm just going to show you how to do a basic setup for your landscape with grass and show a bit of sculpting. Typically, all you need to do is go down to the bottom here and click create. Sometimes it may intersect with the starting grid, so best just to delete these by changing back to selection mode. Select the grid planes in the outlier and press delete to get rid of them. And there you have it. You have a landscape that is full of grass. This is a good starting point for you just to start building your maps. Now, if we go back into landscape mode and then click on this sculpt tab, here you will be able to shape and form the landscape how you like. You can change the brush size and the tool strength here on the side. So for instance, we have a big brush and we can sculpt the landscape, making hills, mountains, anything like that that you want to do. You can increase the strength over here, and this will make it pop up a lot faster. Right? You never want to have a flat map because flat maps are boring. Just like that, within 10 seconds, we have a little bit of a landscape with some terrain. If you made a mistake and you want to bring it back down to flat, then you can use this erase button here and it'll bring things back to the way they were before. The next tab you will see is the Paint tab. This is how you can paint the terrain environment with sand, dirt, asphalt, and more. So all you have to do is click on whichever terrain that you want. So for instance, this one is dirt, and we just paint it on the landscape. Sometimes it takes a few minutes just to prepare the shaders, but don't worry, it'll pop up soon. And just like that, we now have dirt, which is blended in very nicely with the grass. And we have all the other options here too. So we got sand, got asphalt, more like the jungle terrain, and kind of like a little rocky mountain terrain. Okay, so now for the fun stuff. Let's go back to selection mode. We're going to open up our content drawer as I'm going to show you how to place down objects and props into your map. You can dock your content drawer by clicking here. This is typically how I have my setup look as I am constantly going in and out of the content drawer. If you don't want this screen here, you can simply move it over to the side. Within your content drawer, you typically start with 3 folders. One is your starting folder, which is typically named after your project name. Then we have the Fortnite folder, where you can find all of the assets similar to Creative 1.0, such as devices, galleries, prefabs, and more. Then we have the Epic folder, which is typically more back-end stuff, so you won't have to go into here as much as a beginner. Okay, so let's go into the props folder within the Fortnite folder. You can find it here. And let's just go to Anarchy Acres, and we'll grab this tractor. And all you have to do is just drag it into the map. It's that simple. Now, in order to manipulate the object, you will see in this section at the top of the screen here. Select this option to move your object. Select this option in order to rotate your object. And select this option if you want to resize your object. If you're brand new to this little thing here is called a gizmo. And this typically makes changes to the X, Y, and Z axis of an object. Here is where you can control grid snapping. Similar to Creative 1.0, you can snap your objects into place. You can also grid snap the rotation. So if you click on here and it's set to 90 degrees, and then we click rotate object, it will make sure that it rotates in a 90-degree angle. If you don't want that and you want it to be able to rotate it how you like, just unclick that and then you will be able to rotate it in a much smoother way. You can also snap the resizing of it. So let's say like this, and we click on that, we resize it, it's going to snap to a certain plane. This button here is how you control the camera speed. So obviously the more you put it up, the faster it's going to go. The lower that you put it, the slower it's going to go. You can even make it even slower by changing the camera speed scaler. Now, the last thing I'm going to do in this video is just show you how to connect your devices. So we will just use a simple mechanic with the button device and the pop-up dialog device. So we will go into our content drawer and grab our devices and place them into the map. If you know the device name you are looking for, you can simply search for it here. So we are going to type a quick message into the pop-up dialog device that says "Welcome to UEFN." Simply click on the device, and over on the side, you will see, just like how it is in Creative 1.0, you can type your message in here. Now, if you scroll down, you will see functions that you are used to seeing in Creative 1.0. We want the message to show right here, show, so we click here to add an element. You can either search or select the device you want to connect to it here. Search, or we know it's the button device, so we click on button. Another way you can do it is you can also grab this little eyedropper tool and then hover it over the actual device that you want to connect it to and just click on it. Then where it says none, click it and change it to on interact, so that when a player interacts with the button, the pop-up dialog box will show. Then, as mentioned before, just click launch session at the top here to enter into your game and test it out. You're going to want to click save content before you go into the session, and just to keep it up to date. In my next video, as a part of this beginner guide series for UEFN, I will go over some intermediate things such as importing custom assets into UEFN, how to publish your projects, adding images to your maps, and much more. Let me know in the comments some things you would like me to go over in future UEFN videos. Thanks for staying until the end. It really means a lot to me. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Stay spicy. I'm out. Peace.